What's going on? My name is Bronson Aalgaard, and I'm the JHM pastor here at Heights Church. And I want to tell you something. Today is going to be so good. So good. So good. Because today I'm going to talk to you guys about 5 things that'll help my perspective. Well, I'm continuing on in our series. But today they asked me to do one of my favorite things. To talk about one of my favorite things, and it's this. Looking at the silver lining of all situations. Like when things are really starting to, not be so good. Ask yourself what is actually good about it. And I'm going to give you a quick tip before I give you a passage that really helps me in this time. One is this. Tell your story. Talk about what's going on in your life out loud to yourself. Hear what is actually going on, and then point out some of those things that may actually have a good side to it. Now, if you're caught up in these moments, and I know I've heard some crazy stories where people are really, and I mean really, experiencing some super difficult things where it's very hard to point out something that is good in it. The second thing, go talk to a friend. Tell your story to a friend, a godly friend, or a mentor, a godly mentor, and ask them, what are some of the good things about this? And the reality is, some of these stories may be so difficult that there really isn't anything good about it. And the only thing you have left is knowing that God is with you and He is near. One of my favorite books in the Bible, believe it or not, because when you hear this growing up, when they say the word Genesis, it's like I'm getting ready to go to sleep, take a nap, and that's how pastors and preachers get you ready for it. But it's actually one of my favorite books in the Bible. And more specifically, when we look into the story of Joseph. Now, if you've ever heard me preach at all, you've probably heard me preach about Joseph. Joseph lived a very, we'll just say full life. He lived a very full life. And honestly, oftentimes, he was put in some really tough situations. And as soon as it started to get a little bit better, you would see it come crashing down again. And I'm going to point out the time when Joseph actually gets thrown into prison. You know, Joseph really deals with this thing about being thrown into places, like thrown into a hole, and now he's being thrown into prison. Wow. Anyways, if you don't read your Bible that often, or you think Genesis is that boring book, I want to tell you something. Genesis is not that boring. Just get through the creation a little bit after and start reading about Joseph. Wow. So let's open it up to Genesis 39, and we're going to start in verse 19. It says this. Potiphar was furious when he heard his wife's stories about how Joseph had treated her. So he took Joseph and threw him into prison where the king's prisoners were held. And there he remained. I'm going to stop real quick. He got thrown into not only just prison, but where the king's prisoners were thrown. Could you imagine being placed where, if our president found somebody, threw him into jail? You got to be doing some pretty bad things. This is where Joseph's now at. And this is what it says. But the Lord was with Joseph in the prison and showed him his faithful love. And the Lord made Joseph a favorite with the prison warden. Now here's the reality. Sometimes our situations just become too much, where there really isn't any silver lining of what is going on in our life right now. And to be honest, that's a really difficult place to be. But I'm here to tell you this. As a follower of Jesus, we can know that God's unfailing love will never leave us. And as long as we choose to see the silver lining in every moment, we will see His favor, and His favor will land on us. His unfailing love is something we can never fathom. Because I guarantee you this, it only grows every day. Let's choose to pick the silver lining and be excited about what God could actually be doing. This has been so good today, guys, and I hope you've enjoyed all that God has actually revealed to me, and now I'm communicating to you. And we'll see you next time.